2 Kings chapter number 6. 2 Kings chapter number 6. What to do when you're under attack or the king has one more move. Like I said, I don't know who this is for. I know it really affected my heart today in studying for it and getting everything written down. And as I was writing down my notes, I began to think how I was falling into the situation of doubt. How I was falling into the trap of being worried, of being concerned, of being overwhelmed. And I got to looking at what I'm preaching. And the king has one more move. And so, anyway, try to encourage you tonight. Try to help you go on. Try to give you the strength you need to make it through the rest of the week. Because I know it's been a tough week. I know sometimes it seems like that Satan is on the winning side, and it just. But I got some hope for you tonight. And those of you that listen or may listen by way of internet, maybe this word is for you. If not, turn it off. But 2 Kings chapter 6, the preliminaries for this message is the Syrian army had been battling against the nation of Israel. They had been chasing and harassing and trying to defeat the nation of Israel. They had been going after the nation of Israel. And the Assyrian king, every time he would go after the nation of Israel, every time he would plan an attack in a certain area, a certain place to deploy his forces and a certain way to ambush the nation of Israel, somehow the nation of Israel didn't show up. And so this went on for 2 or 3 times, and finally the king got ticked off about it, and he said, there must be a spy in the camp somewhere. I don't know who is telling the nation of Israel what's going on and what the plans are, but every time we plan an attack, they know about it and then they don't show up. And one of his men said, it's not a spy in your camp, sir. There's a man of God that God speaks to. And it doesn't matter what you say in your bedroom. God tells Elisha. And Elisha goes and tells the king of Israel. And the king of Israel goes and tells his generals. And they don't come to where you got plans for them. Pick up in verse number 8. It says, then the king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king. But Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dothan. I want to tell you something tonight. If you're serving God, Satan's going to leave the rest of Christianity alone, and he's going to put a target on your back. They had been warring against the nation of Israel. They had been trying to capture and annihilate the whole nation of Israel. And this servant said, it ain't the nation of Israel that's giving you problems. It's this one man of God that's giving you problems. And everything you say in your bedroom, God tells him about, and he tells the armies about. And I'll tell you what, anytime you try to serve God, anytime you try to put God first in your life, anytime you try to put God first in your finances, in your church attendance, or anything else, Satan is going to plant a target on your back, and you're going to become a target for him in your family, in your job, and anything else. And their focus is going to go from the nation onto you as an individual. So you may as well get prepared for it. You start serving God, you're going to tick off a king of this world somewhere. All right. So anyhow, he says, go and spy where he is, that I may fetch him. And it's told him, behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by night and compassed the city about. It's been estimated by theologians that are a whole lot smarter than I am that maybe 50,000 troops were what they sent to go after one man. They had sent the armies after the nation of Israel. But then they pulled all their forces to go for that one man, Elisha. So don't be surprised when you feel overwhelmed. Don't be surprised when you feel like that the forces of evil are more than you can handle. Don't be surprised when Satan says, I got you now. I got you now. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, alas, my master, what shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto him, This is not the way, neither this is the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass when they were coming to Samaria, Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of this man that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. And the king of Israel said unto Elijah when he saw them, My father, how shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? We'll stop reading there. I want to try to get to what I want to get to tonight. So picture, if you can, you've got Elisha and Elijah. They're encamped down here, and the servant of the man of God gets up early in the morning, and he goes out, and maybe he's starting a campfire. You know, those of you who go camping like I do, you go out into the mountains, and you're not really looking around at everything. You're just trying to get your cup of coffee fixed for your wife because you know she's going to be up soon. And so you go out there, and you're building your campfire, and you're laying your sticks in order, and you're getting everything ready, and maybe even you're kneeling down on the ground beside the fire pit or the rocks or whatever. And then you get everything going, and then you lean back. And can't you just see this servant when he starts to get his little flame flickering, and he leans back, oh my good God in heaven! And he sees the whole tops of the mountains covered with soldiers and spears and chariots. And he's looking around, and man, his knees begin to shake, his eyes begin to leak water, and he begins to back it up. You know how we do when we get scared. I got surrounded by about 20-some wasps the other day when I was working around the house. And I was just standing there, and they was flying around. I had on a pair of short pants and no shirt, and they just began buzzing all around me. And so I'm standing perfectly still, hoping they wouldn't see me. and they kept buzzing around, and obviously it worked because none of them stung me. And I started just backing away. Lord, please don't let them sting me. Please don't let them. And so this servant was backing up into the tent, and he just kind of sticks his head in the tent, and he says, Elisha, we got a problem. Whew. What's your plan? And can't you imagine what was going through his head? I should have stayed home. I shouldn't have never come with this preacher. I don't know why I got involved in this ministry. I didn't have no problems with the devil till I started teaching Sunday school. I didn't have no problems with the devil till I started leading and singing. I didn't have no problems with the devil when I was just coming to church and throwing a little piece of change in there. But when I stood up and started witnessing, when I stood up and started teaching, when I started tithing of my first fruits, I didn't have no problems up until then. I should have just stayed home. And so he said, Elisha, what's the plan, dude? We are surrounded. You ever felt surrounded? You ever felt like it? You had nowhere to turn? Ain't it amazing how one sunrise can change your life? They're out there camping, having a blast. He was telling the king of Israel, every time the king of Syria made a move, the nation of Israel's army was being saved. Everything was going his way. Everything was going good. And then with one sunrise, they're completely surrounded with no hope for tomorrow. They were just about to be annihilated. Servant. Okay, preacher man. What's the plan? I'll tell you something. I'm going to get real personal here for a minute. Ephesians 6 says we wrestle not against principalities, or wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. I raised a group of German Shepherd puppies this year so I could sell to pay some bills. I raised a group of English Bulldogs this year so I could sell to pay some bills. I raised a 400 and some bales of hay so I could pay some bills. I spent more on the English Bulldogs than I'll ever make on the sale of puppies. I still have 4 German Shepherd puppies in the pen that ain't sold. And the bills keep piling up. The puppies keep eating. Puppies keep getting shots. Tractor broke down. I broke my tractor. Another $3,000 expense. I kind of leaned back into my tent and I said, Lord, what's your plan? You know, I prayed about these puppies. I gave you a tithe off these puppies. We prayed every Sunday. We prayed about these puppies. God, why ain't you selling them? I mean, there's ads all over the freaking state. Somebody's got to want a puppy somewhere. Other people are selling theirs for $1,800, $1,900. I'm practically giving mine away. Mine are better bloodline than anything out there. What's your plan, God? What's your plan? Elisha. I'll tell you what you need when you feel surrounded. I'll tell you what you need when you feel overwhelmed. You need some Bible words. You don't need a do-better list. You don't need the power of positive thinking. You don't need to send off for a snotty handkerchief that somebody sweated on. You need some Bible words. And Elisha scratched his belly, took a sip of his Diet Mountain Dew, and said, fear not. Fear not. God's words. You go to having problems in your life. You need to surround yourself with some folks that's going to speak life into you. They're going to take a Bible and speak words of faith into you. They need to surround you with the things of God, the people of God, the oracles of God, the house of God. It ain't the time to run high. It's the time to draw closer to God. It's the time to draw closer to God's people. It's the time to draw closer to God's things when you're surrounded. And Elisha just simply said, fear not. And I can just see the servant because he didn't see what Elisha saw. See, sometimes you don't see what the man of God sees. Sometimes God will tell me to speak to you and you don't even know you're being spoke to by God. There's somebody out there listening or going to be listening that they don't know that this word is for them. It's being preached over here in nowhere North America, Montana, but it's maybe for somebody on the coast of North Carolina. It might be for somebody over on the bank of the Michigan River, Michigan Lake Michigan. It might be for little Corey up yonder in Alaska somewhere. It might be for somebody who's missed church tonight and just feels guilty about missing it, so they turn it on tomorrow and listen to it, if I get it loaded. But Elisha tells him, says, don't be scared. What you got to be scared of? And he says, those that are with us are far more than they that are with them. I don't know about you, but I can see this, sir. Elisha, can I get a sip of that? I don't know what you put in it, but can I get a swig? And Elisha prayed. That's a pretty good answer to life's problems, ain't it? And Elisha prayed, Lord, open his eyes. Let him see what I see. Started praying real seriously about a Christian school a couple months ago. About a month ago, I started praying real seriously about it. About time the ad for the puppies came out. Started praying real seriously about a Christian school. I broke my tractor. I ain't sold a flipping dog. I ain't sold but 4 bales of hay. How am I going to fund a Christian school if I can't even sell a dog? Promise God $1,000 a month. How am I going to do that? What's your plan, Elisha? How you plan to fulfill these promises to God? Lost 10 or 12 kids over to daycare? What's your plan, God? What is it you're trying to teach me, God? Same thing I've been trying to teach you all along, you idiot. You didn't have to say yep right there. Just a habit right now. One phone call can change a life. One text message. One blood report. I was down in the hospital this past week, and the doctor said it's going to take about 4 hours to run that bag of fluid or that bag of stuff in my arm. He said, because they have to give it to you slow, because if they give it to you too fast, it'll kill you. And I told Rose, I said, well, why don't you just go on home? And you can come back and pick me up later. And the doctor looked at her and he said, no, you don't go nowhere. case something happens. You stay here. I said, "Yo, I ain't scared of dying, but I won't plan on doing it tonight." What's your plan? Elisha prayed. He said, "Lord, I pray Thee open his eyes that he can see what I see." I'd love for people around this world to get a vision for this place like we have. I'd love for people in this church to get a vision for this place.
Amen.
I'd love to see us going out and winning souls.
Yeah.
I'd love to see us going out and telling about how great our God is. We get on social media and we talk about everything else but God. I remember when Waylon was, I think he was probably about 15. Yeah, maybe 15. No, it was younger than that, I think. I don't remember. Anyway, we were young teens. And he was real passive. You could pick on him for months before he'd even look at you. He was just mild. He didn't like to fight. I enjoyed fighting. I'd let him, I love a good scrap. I even like a good fight now. If they didn't put it in the brief, I'd have one about once a week. But Waylon was on the school bus, and this boy named Earl Barnett used to pick on Waylon every day. Every day he'd pick on him. He'd hit him in the back of the head or thump his ear or something. Every day he'd pick on him. And finally I just got tired of it. I done about had enough. And so Earl went to pick on him that one day, and I grabbed him and I punched him right square in the mouth. Knocked him over the bus seat into the floor. And I was going after him when I felt this big meat hook on my shoulder. And I looked back like, okay, I got to take somebody else out. And it was Waylon. He finally had enough. And the last time I saw him, because I was laughing so hard, he had his hands on both sides of the bus seat and he was jumping up and down on Earl's face. Oddly enough, Earl never picked on him again. But the thing I was trying to get to is this servant. He's down on his knees and he's backing into the tent. And he's quaking in fear. What's your plan? And then Elijah said, Lord, open his eyes. And he looked around and he saw the enemies that were being surrounded by God. He saw his enemies that were being surrounded by the armies of God. He saw the armies of Syria that were coming to take them out. They were surrounded by the armies of God. And I want to tell you something, folks. Back in Genesis, it started when 1/3 of the angelic host decided they were going to take over heaven with Satan. And if 1/3 of them went with Satan, guess what that leaves? I'm a redneck from the backside of North Carolina, but I know how much is left after 1/3 is taken out. So every one demon that comes after you, God's got 2 angels in your back corner. And I'm going to tell you what, they're far more powerful than the suckers that lost back in Genesis. So don't you worry about God, the enemies of the world, when God's got His army surrounding them. Whew. Don't be surprised though, because your name is on a list in hell somewhere. Your name is on a drawing board. How can we get this sucker? But your name's on another list too. Your name is in the Lamb's Book of Life, written down before the foundations of the world. And like the girls sing, that's my child. That is my child. A voice behind me whispers, don't you worry, I got this. Just like Jesus when he knelt down on the ground in the sand and that lady was laying there naked and embarrassed and humiliated. And he said, where are your accusers? And he stooped down and he started writing in the dirt, and I believe he wrote, don't worry baby, I got this. And God's telling you and me tonight, don't worry, baby, I got this. If another German Shepherd puppy don't never sell, God's got this. If another Bulldog puppy don't never sell, I got this. If we never have the funding that comes from the world on a Christian school, God says, I got this. Oh, I feel like preaching this evening. Thank God Almighty. And all of a sudden, this scared to death servant who was surrounded by the enemies of God opened his eyes and looked around the mountaintops, and he saw the armies of God coming to his rescue. Next time you feel overwhelmed, open your eyes. Next time you feel lost, open your eyes. Next time you're kneeling down by your campfire and you feel like all is lost and you should have stayed home, open your eyes. Need some Bible words.
Yeah.
Fear not. Bible words. Iron sharpeneth iron. Get beside some good Christian brothers and sisters and let them sharpen you up. I was sharpening my knives the other day over at the house, and Ty was there, and I pulled out this big rock, and I was dragging my knife across it. Ty says, "You know how to use that?" I said, "Oh, yeah. I know how to use that." "Can you sharpen that with that rock better than that machine?" I said, "Oh, yeah. It'll take some time, but I can do it better than a machine." Iron sharpeneth iron. And you need to get some people into your life that's going to speak faith into your life, that's going to give you some Bible words, that's going to build your faith, that's going to tell you greater is He that's in you than he that's in the world. The Bible, somebody's going to tell you no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Needs somebody in your life that tells you that He'll never leave you and He'll never forsake you. God is my Father, heaven is my home. The Satan has been he's been beat up. And I'm on my way to a mansion that God has prepared for me in glory. And my name is written on the front door, and there ain't no pen in all the world that's big enough to erase that signpost. Whew. You got to quit hanging out with the world if you expect to hear Bible words. Yeah. Whose opinion you listening to? Them mouthy co-workers? That family that says you'll never amount to anything? Or that God says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew you. That God that says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. That God says, I will never leave you and never forsake you. The Bible says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The world might say you're a nobody, but God said you're a somebody. Who are you going to listen to? Whose opinion are you going to listen to? I got to hurry up. Not only are you going to need some Bible words, but you're going to need some biblical vision. See, Elisha's servant was just another scared servant until he could see what was going on. See, sometimes you just got to step back and see God working in your life. Oh, we get overwhelmed. We get lost in the adversity. But all we got to do is just step back and see what God has done. Open our eyes. Lord, open His eyes. What did he see when God opened his eyes? He saw what the man of God could see. I stand up here and I preach faith into you and I tell you it's going to be all right. And I tell you that God's got this, and you go home scared to death. You get happy for about 15 minutes while you're in services. And then the first little attack that comes your way, you get all nervous again. That's right, preacher, you get them. Because I ain't immune to it either, folks. It scares the pudding out of me sometimes. And I know I'm supposed to be a man of faith, and I know I'm supposed to have a hotline to the throne and all that other stuff, but sometimes I get a bad connection. And it ain't no fault of the connector. It's right here. It's my doubt. Oh, where did you doubt? How is it you had no faith? I can just see this servant when his eyes was open. You might be surrounded by the enemy, but they're surrounded by God. I remember a cartoon a long time ago. It was like that Tom and Jerry commercial. You know how that cat always chased that little rat? And one day they had this Acme box. I don't know why everything came from Acme. But it busted out, fell off the train or something and everything. Had a little baby kangaroo in it about that high. Looked just like that rat, except with a longer tail. And so Jerry goes running through the living room. Tom's chasing him, with a big old baseball bat. And he runs into a closet. And that kangaroo just happened to be hiding in that closet. And so Tom swung that door open, just reaching to kill that little rat. He looks up at that kangaroo, and that kangaroo just grinning. Satan might think he's got you. Satan's got you in his sights. He's fixing to annihilate you. He's got you right where he wants you. And all of a sudden his glance goes up above you. Looks just a little bit past you. And you got, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all of the day. Let me introduce you to goodness and mercy. My two angels on either side of me, that anytime Satan wants to get me, he's got to go through them. And if he happens to make it through them, we got Michael standing by the wayside. And if he makes it through all of them, then we got Jesus Christ himself. That says, boy, I done beat you once. Don't make me do it before time. You got to have some confidence in your God. When Elisha's servant saw the mountaintops that were surrounded by the enemy, he got scared. But then when he saw that the enemy was surrounded by the armies of God, he got some confidence going on. See, we've got to open our eyes and we've got to see what God's got in store for us. We've got to open our eyes and see that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. See, the devil has some power. No doubting that. The devil has some power. And the devil's going to give you a fit. But what you got to remember is your God has all power. He's our protector. He's our healer. He's our deliverer. He's our strong tower. He's our morning star. He's our refuge in the time of storm. He's our rock. He is everything we need. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they do comfort me. My God is here every time I go through a struggle. My God is here every time I don't even know I'm going through a struggle. Don't spend your time moping around your campfire worried about the enemy. God's got your enemy surrounded. God's got plans for your enemy already written down in an irreplaceable book that says in the last days He's going to take death, hell, and that old dragon and cast him into the lake of fire. And you're going to be in heaven in your mansion that He's got prepared especially for you. Don't be standing around moping about what's surrounding you on the mountaintops, because the mountaintops are being surrounded by God's army. And just to prove that God's got a real serious sense of humor, I had a little snot-nosed preacher one time tell me my sense of humor was a sin. I tried it about 6 months, figured out he didn't know what he was talking about. I'm still in the ministry and he ain't. Elisha prayed. 18, he says, I pray, smite these people with blindness. And so God did. All them dudes were blinded. They come down after Elijah, and then boom, couldn't see a squat. And so Elijah walks out into the middle of them, and he says, hey y'all, the dude y'all looking for ain't here. But come on, I'll show you where he's at. And so he leads them down. 50,000 people, blind mice, following Elisha. I can just see the grin on his face. Remember, Elisha's still sipping on his Diet Mountain Dew. Y'all come on, follow the sound of my swallowing. Your hearing's supposed to be better after you go blind. Come on. I'll show you which way to go. And he leads him right down into the middle of the armies of the Sumerians. And then he says, Lord, you can open your eyes now. And I know I'm paraphrasing. I don't mean any disrespect at all, but Elisha had a relationship with God. And them dudes opened their eyes and they looked around and said, oh, crap. And then they felt like Elisha's servant felt when he was kneeling at the campfire. We are surrounded and we ain't got no God to bail us out because Baal can't walk. See, what the devil meant for your evil, God meant for your good. I don't know why the puppies ain't selling. And after today, I don't care. I don't know why they ain't selling. And after today, I don't care. I don't know why I ain't got no answers on the Christian school. After today, I don't care. I know it's all going to work out in God's time. Because my mountaintops are surrounded by God's armies. I want to tell you a story and then I'll close. Years and years and years ago over in England or Europe or somewhere, this guy did a painting. And the painting was called Checkmate. And they hung it. And you know about chess, right? Checkmate is when you play chess. Some of you are looking at me like a calf staring at a new gate. But chess is where two teams, and they got all these kind of little weird figures. They got horses and castles and kings and queens and bishops and all this kind of stuff. And the object is to capture the other guy's king. And when you get the king in a position where he can't go anywhere else, it's called checkmate. And so he did this painting of the perfect checkmate scenario where the king had no moves. left. He was surrounded, he was trapped, and there was no way out. Now, the opposite thing, if you get checkmate, you win. But my understanding of the game of chess, if you call checkmate and it ain't really checkmate, you lose. So they were having a chess tournament over in this part of the country. And this one particular real national known champion of the game of chess went over to that hall where this big painting had been displayed for years. And they said he spent hours just studying this painting. You know how those chess players are. You know, they can sit there and do absolutely nothing for weeks at a time. And they said he just stood there. And for hours on end, he just studied this painting. And he kept watching and looking. And you could see his brow furrowed. And you could see the wheel. You could almost see the wheels turning. And all of a sudden his eyes light up. He jumps up and he goes running down the hallway and he says, "It's a lie! It's a lie! It's a lie! The king has one more move! It's not checkmate! It's not checkmate! The king has one more move! Satan may have you surrounded, but I'm telling you tonight, the king has one more move! And he's going to defeat Satan because Satan has claimed checkmate in your life. And it ain't so. Because God has already won the victory in our lives. God has already given us the victory over Satan. God has given us the power to become the sons of God. God has given us the liberty and the freedom to be Christians full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. The king has one more move. So in your life, next time you feel overwhelmed, next time you feel surrounded, next time you feel defeated, next time you feel like all hope is gone, I want you to just realize the king has one more move.